So the only thing transitory about Jerome Powell, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell's use of the word transitory is his definition of transitory. That's the only thing transitory about what's going on right now. It's absolute insanity. So it seems that like every time the Fed chairman goes out there, and this time yesterday it was Fed Chairman Jerome Powell and the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, they went out to the Senate and they basically just said the same things. The only thing that there's a few crazy things that happened that actually is very scary, is Janet Yellen's idea of taxing unrealized capital gains. Taxing unrealized capital gains, Janet Yellen. You're an economist. Better yet, you're the Secretary of Treasury, and you think it's a good idea for our economy to tax unrealized capital gains. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. So basically, the next thing they'll do is get rid of the 1031 exchange, which is there so that the poor can make it to the middle class and the middle class can make it to being wealthy. That is really why the 1031 exchange is there. That's why we have a system in place where you don't have to declare taxes on things that you haven't declared a gain on. So basically, there would be no incentive to be in the stock market with these ideas. You would just, especially if you're up a lot. So if you were an early investor in Tesla and you believe in the company and you go, wait, they're going to tax me on unrealized gains? Well, I don't know if I should leave it here. Maybe I should sell it and put it into a business or something. That's crazy. So like, how do you go about that, Janet? Why don't you go into detail on how you would roll that type of situation out? Because it sounds unconstitutional. At best, it seems to be something that is completely unconstitutional and would probably make our stock market collapse, which I think will probably happen in the long term. So the other thing that's going on, so to talk about Jerome Powell, not to get too, it's hard to not talk about what Janet Yellen said because that's about the craziest thing, because Jerome Powell just continues to kick the can down the road and say the same thing after the same thing after the same thing. And there's a reason for that. And it's because his term's up in 2022. If you guys notice, all his projections are to 2022. Well, interestingly enough, now you got Elizabeth Warren out there saying, hey, watch out for Jerome Powell. Let's not get him re-put as Fed chair. Let's, get him out of there in 2022. But all these projections are they'll say November too. They'll say it's around the corner, November. No. It's November 2022. They're talking another year out. So it always is this push the can down the road, push the can down the road, push the can down the road. Oh, we're going to hit a debt ceiling. Let's mint $1 trillion coin. Oh, by the way, I'm going to make a video on that $1 trillion coin idea. So basically, they're going to go to the president and they're going to say, hey, we really messed up and we need to raise the debt ceiling. So mint us $1 trillion platinum coin. Now, keep in mind, if you were to mint $1 trillion platinum coin, if you were to divide it by the cost of a 1 ounce platinum eagle, I'm going to make a video specifically on this topic because it's pretty much fraud. They're going to call it a commemorative coin. But because I'm in the business, if you have a platinum eagle, it's a $100 denomination for a platinum eagle, right? For a 1 ounce platinum eagle. To get $1 trillion, I believe it with the math brings it down to like 10 billion ounces, something like that, would be $1 trillion coin in platinum. There isn't 10 billion ounces available of platinum. It's not even possible. Like literally, it's not even possible to make it out of platinum if they weren't doing something fraudulent. They're just using it as a loophole and calling it a commemorative coin made out of platinum. I'm going to guess that it's going to say platinum plated, and it's really going to be a non-precious metal if they do actually mint a real coin. And like a 10, like just to put it in, I think it's 10 billion 10-ounce platinum bars. I wrote it down on a paper over there. The numbers are so big, it's hard for my squirrel brain to wrap my head around it. But it's like, from my math, from my understanding, it's impossible to make it out of platinum. So it's like, and they literally say it's going to be made out of platinum. So it's like, wait a minute. It's almost like the people in charge are like children that don't want to fess up to messing up to this really, really bad thing. It's like they took mom's car and they crashed it and they did this terrible thing and they want to just keep hiding it for next week. Don't find some way to distract mom. Find some way to distract, and we're not going to tell them about it. But meanwhile, the car's crashed. Like, It's there. So you got a situation right now where the dollar is pretty much speeding on a desert bed, a lake bed, and we know for a fact that there's a cliff somewhere there. And the only difference is you got Janet Yellen in the passenger seat and Jerome Powell steering it, and they're just going faster on the gas and closing their eyes. But they know for a fact there's a cliff there. And then they just tell you, well, 2022. We said inflation was transitory, but, it's a little bit higher than we expected. There's some supply constraints. Yeah, there's some supply constraints. Of course there's supply constraints. We knew that the whole time. But it was your definition of transitory has changed from the first time you said transitory. And here's another thing. Month over month, they changed their yearly projections. Like bi-monthly, the yearly projections are changing. So how are these a yearly projection? Exactly. If your first projection was 2%, then you go to 3%, then you go to 3.7%. And realistically, we all know inflation's like over 10%. These are just bamboozled numbers. Are these yearly reports? Can you call them an annual report anymore? What projection is it? It's a bi-monthly projection. It's not a yearly projection, but it's somehow supposed to be a yearly projection. Does anybody question? It's hard for me to wrap my mind around this. I've been taking a bit of a break from making a lot of content, but I'm coming back full steam, everybody. So if you could help me out, if you like this content and you want to get this content out to more people, if you hit the like, it does actually get this live stream to get more people viewing the live stream. So if you could smash that like, would really appreciate it. Only if you agree on this craziness going on, because I just don't want to. I have no VPN to sell you. I have no company to, although a lot of them have been emailing me, I have nobody I'm promoting in my videos. You might see an ad in my video, but that's like apart from the an actual stopping these videos to do some sort of advertisement. I don't do them. If you listen to a lot of the podcasts out there, I don't want to bring up names, but they'll be like, this VPN, this. I want to be somebody that just tells it from the heart, tells it like it is, because I don't care. I just want to put this information out there, and I'm just stoked to be on YouTube. When I look at YouTube, it still hasn't really hit me that there's this many subscribers here and that you guys have all been here with me since the beginning. So thank you so much for your support and everything, and sorry for being gone for a little while. My main thing was getting these live streams back online, and now I have a situation where I can literally, so as I'm doing this live stream, I'm actually going to go over some good articles that I pulled up on the left over here, because now I got this fancy stream deck thing where I can go between scenes and I can actually show you my screen over here, because we're getting fancy around here. We're getting fancy. This is going to be some news show type stuff around here. A news show that just completely has no script. All live stream. But thank you again, everybody, for being here. On a serious note, really, really appreciate you. We're about to break 25K subs. We're at 24K. We broke over 1 million views on YouTube. I was planning to make a video about it, but I just kind of I posted some stuff on my Instagram. I've been starting to do a little bit more on Instagram. I've been a lot on Twitter because I'm learning a lot about things, and it's been helpful talking to people on Twitter to learn more about Bitcoin, learn more about metals, because I'm still learning a lot of stuff every single day. I'm no guru. I just basically devote 24/7. I'm a full-time precious metals trader, and I'm doing YouTube full-time now. And actually, I plan to do it like 60-40, so like 60% YouTube, 40% my business. So there's that. I'm planning to go a lot more time on YouTube because it makes me happier. Like I actually enjoy doing these videos instead of just constantly being hustling all the time. But anyway, I want to go over some of these articles over here, because the other aspect is this is how shady it is over at the Fed right now. And this is my opinion, not to be taken as fact. Disclaimer. Everything's my opinion here. Disclaimer. There was a situation, and they've had some scrutiny, so much scrutiny at the Fed, that they had to say, oh, now we're going to change things. So after you caught us, now we're going to change things. So when they were influxing over $100 billion, they knew when this was going to be influxed, they knew the timing of it, and they were buying securities that they knew they were about to, right before they were about to pump the market. So they were buying securities that they knew would go up, and then they pumped the market right after. They had insider information, my opinion, not fact, disclaimer, all of you at the Fed. Disclaimer. There's a protocol to being able to speak freely on it. But that's laughable. It's unbelievable. And I pulled up an article over here on the left to go over the details of this. But for them to know when they're going to use the people's money, yours and my money, they're going to use this and they're going to put us in debt to pump up the market. And then they're going to time their buys and they're going to own securities and they're going to sell securities at certain times with our capital that they're pumping the market with. Is anybody like, what is going on? All of my fellow silver squirrels out there, guys, you put this information out there. If you could share this, maybe it's not, if you want to share my video, would really appreciate it. If you want to just get this information out there, share screenshots of what I'm about to show you on your Instagram, get this information out there because they need to be held accountable. And knowing all of this stuff going on, does it really make sense that the dollar index is looking so strong? When I pull up the dollar index over here, let me grab my phone. The dollar index is currently, which is it's laughable, the dollar index being where it's at. And by the way, silver is just, are they giving silver away right now? Is it a gift? Because I'm not selling silver at 21 an ounce. There's no way. I'm sitting on my hands, surely. And saying platinum under 1,000? Well, the premium is going to be over 1,000, but it's insane. Insane opportunities right now, in my personal opinion. But the dollar index is sitting at 94.26. Not long ago, it started to show some cracks in the egg of the dollar index, and it was under 90. But for some reason, after keeping the interest rates at zero, and they're saying, oh, it's transitory at being at zero. We're not going to really keep it at zero this whole time. They've kept it at zero this whole time. But they're saying, oh, down the line, we might change it. We might raise it a little bit years in the future, and we can still change our minds on that. It's not even in stone. How crazy is that? And somehow the dollar looks strong knowing all of this? You got to look past the smoke and mirrors of everything because they want to just slide under the radar like people don't notice how crazy it is that they don't even comment on it. Inflation rates are at 30-year all-time highs. Yeah, that's real. 30-year all-time highs. And he has the audacity to say, oh, it's just transitory. What is transitory about 30-year all-time highs exactly on inflation? And that's your number of inflation. That's not the real number of inflation. That's not what you and I are paying at the gas pump right now. It's not what you and I are paying on our electrical bill when we go out to get groceries. That's not what we're paying. I'm seeing over 10% on my end, and probably a lot higher than that. But for some reason, it's 30-year all-time highs on their numbers. That's how crazy it is, because on the real numbers, in my opinion, it's a lot higher than that. I would say much, much higher than that. But Jerome, I know you don't watch these videos because I would probably be hiding somewhere if I had to just blatantly lie like this all the time and just push the can down the road. And sometimes it might not even be lying. It's just literally hiding and constantly not taking real questions and pushing the can down the road. I want to see Peter Schiff in one of these places questioning Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen. I want to see Peter Schiff in there. Why can't we, if we really have a representation that we can elect into these situations, let's get Peter Schiff down there to talk to these individuals. I'd love to go and ask Jerome Powell a few questions, but you know what? The questions are just softball questions. Here's a softball, Jerome Powell. Here's another softball. Here's a ducking one. You can duck this one. Oh, that's a speedball? Yeah, duck that one. And so it's just constantly the same information, push the can down the road, probably when he's not going to be the chairman anymore. Everyone just wants to keep pushing the can down the road. They're going to say they care about you when they're trying to get elected, when they're trying to get the positions, and then they just push the can down the road and inevitably do nothing. And now they're talking about, Janet Yellen saying, oh, we need to raise the debt ceiling by a certain date. I think it's like October 18th or something like that, right? Oh, we have to do it. And if we can't do it, then we're going to mint $1 trillion coin out of platinum. There's not enough platinum in the world to mint $1 trillion coin unless you want to change the denomination of a 1 ounce platinum from a government issued 1 ounce platinum because it's $100. It would literally take, I believe the math checks out to 10 billion 10 ounce bars. So like 100 billion 1 ounce coins into one coin would be 100 billion troy ounces would be, I think, 100 would be $1 trillion or some 10, at least 10 or 100 billion troy ounces, something along those lines. I'm going to make a video specifically on it and actually go over it in detail because we all know it's impossible to make this thing out of platinum. They're going to make, and what do they have to change the denomination to $10 on every 1 ounce, government issued platinum coin in the future to make this make sense? Or are they just going to openly be fraudulent and just say, yeah, we say $1 trillion is what we say it is? I mean, they do that already. They can just say $1 trillion is $1 trillion. But I mean, what kind of message does it put out in the world when we never own up to our stuff? You can raise the debt ceiling. You can raise the debt ceiling. I think they've done it 80 times now, something like that. And then they basically all realize, oh, wait, we're not going to get our paychecks and we're going to close down if we don't do this. Okay, let's do it. Like, it's happened 80 times. So obviously they're going to figure something out. And if they don't, they're going to make this $1 trillion fake commemorative coin, whatever. But at some point, we're going to have to face the music. And people forget that. They're not going to have to face the music because they're going to be done with their terms. They're going to be taking the people's money, patting their pocket with it. They're going to go home to their fancy place with our money, and they're going to basically just walk away from this situation. And we're going to have to face the burden of the fact that our country is $30 trillion in debt, roughly. And it's all due to this ridiculous spending. And why do we have ridiculous spending? Because they can keep pushing that field goal. They can keep changing the goalpost and make it further and further and further. They never want to shorten it. They never want to make us have a strong team. They just want to make it easier and easier and easier for them. And it's just crazy. It's just crazy. There isn't even words for it. But I'm going to go onto the side screen here. Let's see if I can make this work. And by the way, how is the quality of this stream? I'm hoping the quality has gotten up to standard. I've spent a lot of time making sure that these streams work well. There's a few super chats. I don't like missing those, but I'm going to go over to the screen over here because there's some great articles I pulled up. And again, if you could smash the like, would really appreciate it because it does get these videos out to more people, and I plan to be on YouTube a lot more. ZTK says, even if they're forced to audit, the Fed will be spun as good gov versus evil capitalism. Exactly. And the funny thing is, when you talk about taxing the rich, these rules that they're going to go after, they might start at people that are making over 500K, over $1 million. I think it was 400K was Biden's strategy. But that's going to slow. Once you let that happen, they're not going to leave it there. Before you know it, it's going to go down to $250,000 a year, and then it's going to go further and further. I mean, it used to be 10,000, I believe, is when the banks would report you, and now it's 600 is what Janet Yellen is imposing now. It's like 600 or something along those lines. They're going to do something very similar in the way where they start high, and really 500K, 400K to $1 million range is a lot of people. And so if you do that, then eventually it's going to go down the line, and it's going to hurt the economy. Going after the people doesn't help. Here's how I can put it into perspective. Their revenue, if you look at them as like a business, right? You look at them as a business and you go, okay, well, how much do you make a year off the citizens in revenue? They make around 3 to 4 trillion in revenue. They're 30 trillion in debt. So let's look at them as like a company if we're going to invest in the U.S. deficit or something along those lines. They're 30 trillion in debt. They make about 3 to 4 trillion a year if the citizens pay them that. If the citizens are doing okay in a good economy, I'd imagine that the numbers are less than like 2019, 2020. As we move forward, it's probably going down how much money they're taking in. Although they did artificially inject, 40% of the monetary supply roughly in like a year and a half. So there's that. If they're making 3 to 4 trillion a year, let's say 3 trillion. I know that 2019, I think was 3.5 trillion was their intake. So they're making 3 trillion, they're 30 trillion in debt, and they're printing over 10 trillion a year at this rate. So what they could have done, I think they've printed somewhere around 20 trillion at this point. I've lost count. It's somewhere between 10 and 20 trillion, probably towards the higher end of that. What they could have done is literally made it so nobody has to pay taxes for 5 years straight. And they would have probably saved money, a lot of money. Not only that, but they wouldn't have diluted the currency that we're paid in. So right now we're working wages that are deflationary. So the wages are staying the same. You want a deflationary currency. That's what you really want because you want to be able to store your money somewhere that's safe and it's not going to be tampered with and it's going to grow in value and you're going to have better purchasing power. But the wages are deflationary, not the currency. Because of what the Fed has done, because of what the Senate and Congress has done by making all of this fake money, now we're being paid in a currency that has gone through extreme inflation. So we have a deflationary wage where people are making the same $4,000, $5,000 a month, whatever they're making per month, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000. It's the same or going down as a whole. But the currency is diluted and inflated. That's a very rough scenario. That's a very scary scenario, and that's what I would argue is what we have right now. And people just don't know it yet. We see a dollar index on this little screen here, just like we see that the precious metals are down right now, when really silver is like, if people are willing to sell it for that, I think it's rather foolish. I think it's rather foolish because it's just a matter of time before it just goes right back to the upside with that, in my personal opinion. You have to look through the smoke and mirrors because I see no reason, I'm looking over here at my phone, for the dollar index to be at 94.28. That's if there's one tip in my videos to tell you, is to watch that dollar index. Watch it close, because when the dollar index goes down, metals go up. And that includes Bitcoin too. I got my Bitcoin clock right there. I'm one of the unique people in precious metals that also likes to have a large Bitcoin position, because I know that there's no way to tamper with it. All of the money already is digital. It's already digital. When they talk about printing money, they're going to print $1 trillion, they're going to mint $1 trillion coin. They're digitally injecting it. So when they talk about a CBDC, they talk about cashless society. We already have that. It already is that. There's more than 90% of the dollars are already digital. 90% of the dollars in the world are digitalized. So if that doesn't tell you that we already have a cashless society, they have a perfect case scenario. They don't want more checks and balances on them. They're probably going to slow that rollout of the CBDC. And that's why Jerome Powell has gone on the record to say, I am not concerned about a CBDC right now. Maybe we roll it out in the future. We're not concerned about it, but we are looking into it, sort of thing, because they don't want that checks and balances on them. A CBDC will have more checks and balances on you, but it will also have more checks and balances on them, where they can't lose trillions of dollars overseas and get away with it and just say, yeah, we lost it. There would be some sort of trail on where this money went and how it got spent. So that's the aspect of CBDC that I think is overlooked. But the truth is, they already have a perfect case scenario for them right now. Why do they want to change that? Why would they want to change that rather? It's just insanity. And the rates have stayed the same. They talk about that they're going to make the rates go higher for these banks, but the loans, by the way, in 2007, when they were giving away housing loans, it's harder to get a loan now, but I was looking at the data over here on the left, and I'm going to pull up this chart actually. Let me see if I could figure this out. Keep in mind, I'm just a simple squirrel, everybody. I'm trying to get technologically savvy here. Boom, there we go. I'm a fancy squirrel now. Fancy squirrel. Throw me a like for being fancy squirrel. Okay, so that's a great picture of Jerome. I think my thumbnail might have beat that one. But let's see here. So when I look at the 30-year mortgages, so in 2007, it was around like 6%. This is when they're just giving away house loans, right? They're giving away home loans. And then now it's actually lower. So they're giving away loans to people that can qualify. So if you're smart enough to build your credit and qualify, they're giving you a really easy loan. So this is a crazy chart to me. It's getting easier and easier and easier to buy homes. So home prices are skyrocketing. The dollar is somehow strong. The stock market has gone to all-time highs. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? The dollar is going to be great here. This looks fantastic. There couldn't be another 2007. This looks like a ripe recovery here. That scares me a lot right there. But I wanted to go over some of these details here. First, let's talk about Janet Yellen. So this is a very interesting article here. On September 28th, this is yesterday, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell and U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen testified on the Coronavirus and CARES Act before the U.S. Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee. So this is yesterday. This is where Yellen basically talked about unrealized capital gains, but we're going to get into that. So here's the transcript. Yellen replies, Senator Shelby, I do support eliminating stepped-up basis. The reason is that a very large share of income of wealthy individuals is simply never taxed. Individuals Individuals hold on to these assets during their lifetime. That income is never taxed. And we know that for some of the wealthiest individuals in the country, they pay very low taxes overall because most of their income takes the form of unrealized capital gains. Now, basically what she's talking about is like 1031 exchanges. So when your money, this is actually like to help the American dream, the 1031 exchange, because if you have a business and you own the commercial property, or if you've put your money into a home, that is pretty much the American dream, is to have a business, own your own home, make a family. But if you decide to sell that home, you can use a thing called the 1031 exchange and not have to declare taxes. If you sell $1 million home and you buy a $1.2 million home, you roll that money up and you don't have to declare a capital gain. Now, with what Janet Yellen is talking about here is making it so that when you do sell that house, you have to pay a 40% gain on whatever profit. So if you bought that house for $500K, you sat on it, you put all of your hard work and effort into this house, and you made a million or a $500K profit because you bought it for $500,000, you're selling it for $1 million, you're going to get taxed at roughly 40% on a capital gain on that. I don't know if it would be a long-term gain, I believe, but you're going to be taxed at a very high rate on that profit of $500K. That's what she's talking about. But right now, the current structure, you'd do a 1031 exchange, you'd buy a bigger property, and then you wouldn't have to declare taxes, and you could keep rolling that up. And then smart individuals tend to cash flow those properties. So they don't just live in them, they buy them and they cash flow those properties. And that's what she's talking about, is going after the people, not for just their cash flow. If they're making $4,000 a month in renting these properties, she's talking about going after the actual big chunks of money as you're trying to make your American dream happen, because they're going to do a much better job with your money. That's the truth here, really. I mean, you just got to understand, they're only $30 trillion in debt. They know it's just a transitory thing, this inflation thing. You're only paid in a currency that's diluted and inflated while your wage is the same or going down. It's impossible to keep this money actually in your banking account because it's gone down roughly 99% in value since the Fed's inception. So basically, it's an ice cube melting away. But it gets better. The banks that the central bank of the Fed, the central bank, gives them free money to the commercial banks, and these commercial banks are making a fortune, but they're not going to give you an interest rate. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Why would they give you an interest rate to compensate for the inflation that they created? That wouldn't be right. You wouldn't want to do that, right? That wouldn't make very much sense. No, that's not right. Let's trust them more. Let's trust them more. Let's make sure they get anything that you have. If you were capable, this is what Janet Yellen is saying here. If you somehow got through this rat race, if you somehow made it through this, and you were able to actually save some dollars, this diluting thing of an ice cube melting away that somehow is saying that it's going up in buying power right now, after they're talking about another $3.5 trillion, they're probably going to drop it, and making a $1 trillion coin out of thin air that's not even going to be made out of platinum because it's impossible to make that big of a coin out of platinum. But anyway, if you made it through that and you actually were able to put some money away and you put it in a good investment, maybe you were an early investor in Tesla. Maybe you were an early investor in Bitcoin. Maybe you're up on your silver position. You bought it back at 12 at the beginning of all of this. If you were that individual who worked hard, saved your money, put it in a good investment, Janet Yellen's coming after it because she can do a better job with that capital. Right? Yeah. They're only $30 trillion in debt. They've only made inflation rates go to 30-year all-time highs, and they call it transitory. That's the people you trust. The ones that can't even admit that they need to, they actually have to face the music and hit a debt ceiling and say, hey, look, we can't keep spending anymore. We've messed up. Nobody likes somebody that can't own up to their crap. Nobody likes that. And that's what these individuals do. They want to take the taxpayers' money. They want to increase the spending. And the more you give them to spend, the more places they will find to spend it. That's the problem. And when you limit the amount that they can spend, they start getting more frugal. That's the truth. If you give somebody, you've put it in their account, you put $1 million in somebody's account, they're not going to be very frugal with it, especially if it's just given to them for free. But if you limit them to, say, $10,000 a week, they might be more frugal with that. They might be more limited in their spending on that. But for some reason, we don't put borders up. There is no ceiling. They can just make $1 trillion coin out of thin air. But anyway, this specifically bothers me to the core over here, because if you're going after unrealized capital gains, I believe this is unconstitutional. That's my interpretation of it. I don't think it'd be possible. But if you're in the stock market, what would be the reason to hold your gains in the stock market if they're going to know it's there and they're going to be able to take gains on it? This is absolutely insane to me. And for somebody that is the Secretary Treasury, the Secretary of Treasury saying something like this, I'm a college dropout. You know, I'm a guy that lived in this warehouse building a small company. Who am I to call out this, renowned economist of Janet Yellen and say, hey, this is ridiculous. This makes no sense. It's unconstitutional. Who am I to say something like that? But this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I didn't even finish this. I just went on a rant because it gets me emotional. Because I'm trying to build a business. I want to buy another warehouse. I want to be able to roll my business's properties forward and use the 1031 exchange that the wealthy used to get wealthy. That 1031 exchange, yeah, it helps the wealthy, but it helps us too. Everybody starting at the bottom, it helps us too, because when you buy your first property, you're able to keep your money and not get a capital gain on it. And if they do a capital gain every time you make a big profit, you're not going to be able to move your $1 million property and keep your nest egg and then cash flow off of it. You're going to get chopped down every time you sell something. You sell something, chop down. Sell something, chop down. This is not what the Constitution stands for. This isn't it. This is like whatever happened to no taxation without representation. Whatever happened to that kind of stuff. Wasn't that part of something? Have we forgotten what the founding fathers said? But to finish this, I'll just skip down to the to this part here. And with careful consideration, not in any way to harm prospects of family-owned farms or small businesses, there would be substantial exemptions to protect them. Sure, Janet. Even if there is not actually taxation imposed at death, getting rid of stepped-up basis would mean that an heir would inherit the original basis of the asset. So what she's saying here is if your family worked really hard and they wanted to leave you their hard work, she wants to make sure that doesn't happen. She wants to make sure they get their paws all over those assets that your parents left for you or your grandparents left for your parents. That's what she's saying here. Oh, but we're going to be careful about this. You can't do this at all. You're not going to be careful about this because it's unconstitutional to do it in the first place. Even if there is not actually taxation imposed at death, getting rid of stepped up basis would mean an heir would inherit the original basis of the asset, and when that person eventually sold the asset, taxes would be paid. But I regard step up of basis as kind of a loophole that allows a very large portion of income in this country of the wealthiest individuals to go untaxed. So I tried to break it down in a more simple way, which means she's trying to do something unconstitutional to take away your parents' hard work and their parents' hard work and not be able to pass down your wealth to your family, which is the original American dream. Also, I would add that they're probably going to try to get rid of the 1031 exchange if they're doing something like this, because the 1031 exchange is really what this is all about. Earlier in 2021, Yellen proposed taxing unrealized capital gains to boost U.S. government coffers during a virtual conference hosted by the New York Times. Capital gains tax is a tax on the profit that investors realize on the sale of their assets. But she's talking about not capital gains. She's talking about going after, and this is actually, it affects Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's the best way to use your Bitcoin in the future. In El Salvador, you can actually just buy stuff with your Bitcoin. So that's the best case scenario for Bitcoin. But the other thing that you can do with your Bitcoin is banks are allowing you to leverage it. So say you bought Bitcoin right now, it's, 43,000 roughly for a Bitcoin. There's people that bought Bitcoin at 1,000, right? So they have a huge gain on their hands. They have some $42,000 gain on their hands. What they can do is they can give their Bitcoin to a bank that's a custodial bank, and they can get a leveraged loan where they hold the Bitcoin and they get a loan against it for fiat of roughly 50%, 40% of that position. So they can get 20,000 wired to them into their account, and then they keep their Bitcoin, never declare a capital gain because they leveraged it. They got a loan on it, and then you use that capital with whatever you need to do with it. Ideally, you'd have a business, you'd have other things, so you're not going to be taking a risk, because if you can't pay it back, you lose that Bitcoin. But if you can pay it back, even if that Bitcoin goes to 200,000, you can pay back the original 20,000 and you'll get your 100,000. You'll get the exact amount of Bitcoin back, and you leverage that Bitcoin at that institution. I don't trust it yet, but in the future, it should be getting a lot better and a lot more trustworthy, so you can leverage. And in that scenario, you would never declare a gain. So you never had to pay a capital gain. Under her philosophy, when you do that, or if you do anything with this, they would be coming after a chunk of whatever gain you've had year over year. So literally, if you've made, say you're 30,000 in the profit and the year ends in that tax year, they're going to try to come after you for like 40%, 30% of that gain. even though you haven't sold it, they're still going to make you sell it to pay them. They're going to make you sell it to pay them on your stock. So if you're up big on Tesla, you made $100,000 on Tesla, they're going to make you sell it, even if you don't want to sell it, even if you want to declare your American dream, you want to hold on to your investment, you don't want to have to deal with that, you want to hold it for a long time and let it grow and let the profit run on something, that's really the goal. They want to make you sell it so that you can pay them. That's insane. That's insane. I can't get over that. Please share the video. Please get it out there. Please tell your friends this is unconstitutional. And it's almost I don't want to use the wrong words or something because I try to be careful. But seems criminal. Seems criminal. So here's another one. Fed Chair Powell calls inflation frustrating and sees it running into the next year. Calls it frustrating. Oh, it's frustrating. Is it frustrating for you, Chair Powell, when you were investing in securities that you were pumping with our money? It's frustrating for you. It's just transitory, but it's still frustrating. Oh, I'm so frustrated until I get out in 2022 and I just take my money and run because I'm a millionaire. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell still expects inflation to ease eventually, but said Wednesday that he sees current pressures running into 2022. So like I said, always kicking the can down the road, never talking about in today's day and age. Today is transitory, but in 2022, it's not going to be transitory. Then it's going to be, everything will be fine then and it'll be back to normal because, we didn't just increase the monetary supply by like 40% or anything like that. It'll be back to normal. It's no big deal. It's crazy. He's frustrated about the whole vaccination status, all of that. And he thinks that he's like blaming things. It's also frustrating to see the bottlenecks and supply chain problems not getting better. In fact, the margins apparently getting a little bit worse. He added, we see that continuing into next year, probably holding up inflation longer than we had thought. Really? So your definition of transitory changed. Inflation by the Fed's preferred measure is running at its hottest pace in about 30 years. Just like I had talked about earlier, 30-year highs on inflation. Powell and most of his colleagues say that they expect the current pressures to decline back to trend as supply chain bottlenecks ease and demand goes back to pre-pandemic levels. Yeah, is going to go back to that after inflating it 40% roughly. That makes a lot of sense. He said Wednesday that 2022 should be quite a strong year for economic growth. 2022 is just going to be fantastic, right? Because it's all just set up perfectly right now. The dollar index is at all-time highs. The stock market is inflated to all-time highs. You have loans being given out at all-time low rates. You have the loans at zero for commercial banks because they need more money. Of course, let's give them 0% interest rates. Let's not raise that at all. And if we do raise that and the stock market goes down or anything, you don't want to deal with that during your term. You don't want to do the right thing during your term, Powell. Make sure that's for the next person. Make sure, somebody else has to deal with it, just like Greenspan did to you and all of the people before that. They just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it down to the next person. So you're just doing what other people taught you to do. I understand. It makes sense. However, officials as of late have acknowledged that the current inflation conditions have not eased the way the Fed thought they would. The Federal Open Market Committee last week collectively raised its projection for 2021 core inflation to 3.7% from 3% forecast in June. So even this completely, I got to be careful again with my words, but it's like this number doesn't make sense to me. I think it's a lot higher than that. But even if we go by this number, from 3% to 3.7%, it changed in June. June wasn't that long ago. Why isn't this an annual percentage? How can you give an annual percentage but it changes in a couple months? Am I crazy, guys? Let me know in a comment or something. Am I crazy to say that? Does it make sense for this to change month over month on yearly projections? I don't get it. Why do you even say a yearly projection? Why not just say this is this month's projection because next month it's going to change? I think that would be the better way to go about it. Of course, if we were to see, this is they always use a scapegoat. There's always some sort of scapegoat. There's always some sort of fail-safe door to get out of the heat when it does come. Because look how he ends the conversation. It's the maybe. It's never a hard number. Or it's never a hard thing. They don't put a ceiling on whatever they say. Here's the maybe and of course it's at the end. Of course, if we were to see sustained higher inflation and that were to become a serious concern, I would tell you the FOMC would certainly respond, and we would use our tools to ensure that inflation runs at levels that are consistent with our goal, which is still 2%. They still want to make it. They still designed it to inflation to exist. It's crazy. That's the models that they use. They want it to be 2%, all from like a Keynesian type economics model, which is completely flawed. Austrian economics is what I personally study, and I think is the proper way, but they all go by these crazy ideas that inflation is a good thing. But that's what he says. That's like when somebody owns up to something, but then at the very end of it, they didn't really, just went in one ear and out the other, and they didn't really own up to it. They just have to add something in at the very end. They got to get the last say, sort of thing. That's the maybe. So all of the things he said, yeah, it's going to be better in 22. But of course, if something were to change, we would use our tools at our disposal to make sure that that didn't happen. So basically, what he does is he's mastered the skill of talking for a while, doing nothing, and then giving himself a scapegoat at the very end of the conversation. That's what he's a master of. And I think the people have to start holding the Fed more accountable. And by the way, the Fed was supposed to be its own entity. There was not supposed to be a situation where Janet Yellen and the Fed chairman sit down together and are like collaborating, talking with each other like this. That's not the way it was supposed to be. They were supposed to be separated powers that keep each other in check. That's why it became what it is. So why has it become this buddy-buddy system where everybody's all buddy-buddy? Because they just want to be able to get a paycheck. They want to get the people's paycheck. They're making a fortune, and they just want to pad their pockets, get out of their term, and then put the blame and all the problems on the next person, And they care before they're going to get elected, then it's on the next person. Then it's on the next person. That's how they do it. Jerome is up in 2022. Every one of his projections is after that, 2022. A little bit of a coincidence. Last thing I wanted to bring up on this little chart over here. Watch under pressure. Powell says Federal Reserve to revamp its trading rules. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said Wednesday that the central bank will overhaul its financial ethics policies in response to growing questions about investing and trading decisions by high-ranking Fed officials that raise potential conflicts of interest. Watch Powell's remarks in the player above. I can't play the video for obvious reasons, but here's the quote. It is now clearly seen. It is now, not before, it's now clearly seen after you've made your money. It is now clearly seen as not adequate in sustaining the public's trust. Really, Jerome? Really? You using our money to pump up the market and having securities that were in play to profit off of that is not something that would get our trust. Really, I didn't jump to that conclusion myself. I'm getting heated. I get emotional, like teary-eyed, adrenaline or something. Committee ended a two-day policy meeting. We need to make changes, and we're going to do that as a consequence of this. Powell stopped short of saying explicitly that the trading moves made by the Fed officials were inappropriate. So he won't own up to it, but he'll say, we might have messed up on the public's trust. We made a little bit of money. We padded our pockets a little bit. We pumped the market. We had securities right before we pumped the market with their money and diluted the currency that they're paid in while their wages are going down and they're suffering right now. It's no big deal. We messed up. Just a little something. It's our bad. Powell stopped short of saying that, obviously, because he doesn't want to own up to it. And he offered few details about what the Fed might do or how it will conduct its ethics review, because it's going to be an internal ethics review. The people don't get to put them in check. They're their own little entity somehow with all of this control. They are literally the central bank for our entire country, but they're this hidden little entity that doesn't even keep checks and balances on people like they were supposed to. They just get buddy-buddy with the Treasury, the Secretary of Treasury, and they basically say, hey, give us free money. We want to keep diluting, and we want to get out of here and make a bunch of money. So that's pretty much what's going on here, in my personal opinion. But here's the actual issue, because there's so much information on YouTube. I wanted to pull up an actual article that I went through a lot of them to one that actually got to the points. So here's the issue arose after it was revealed that Robert Kaplan, the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, traded millions of dollars worth of individual stocks such as Amazon, Chevron, Facebook, and Johnson & Johnson in 2020 at the same time that the Fed was taking extraordinary measures to boost the economy. They were placing money in stocks that obviously would pump with a broad market right before they pumped a broad market. The Fed's move likely lifted stock prices and other financial assets. You don't say. Similar financial disclosures showed Eric Rosengren, president of the Boston Fed, invested last year in real estate investment trusts and held mortgage-backed bonds of the type the Fed itself is buying as part of the broad efforts to lower borrowing rates. And Powell himself owns municipal bonds, which the Fed bought last year for the first time ever to prevent a collapse in the muni bond market, a move that could have driven the value of such bonds. Not could have, did drive the value of such bonds. He owned municipal bonds that the Fed itself bought. The Fed chairman owned municipal bonds that then took the people's money. They are trusted as the central bank of the country, takes our money and buys the same bond that he's holding. Why has this gone under the radar? This is actually not that new of an article. Why has this not been front page news everywhere for a very long time? This is crazy. Absolute craziness, because we haven't felt the pain yet. Our banks don't even pay us an interest rate to compensate for the dilution that these individuals caused. Even if it's at their ridiculously low level of 3.7%, which it's not. It's a lot higher than that, in my personal opinion. They don't give us 3.7% at the banks. They don't even give us a fraction of a percent. Barely like the tiniest little 0.0 whatever percent. They don't even give us a penny on the dollar. It's crazy. But they're doing stuff like this. So that's pretty much that. Sorry if I got a little bit bothered by it. I just want on my channel, again, I don't have some random company to promote. I don't have some VPN for you to buy. I don't even like there's some blockchain-based company that does gold and silver. I don't believe in blockchain-based gold and silver. Own the real thing. Don't even want to show my own company. I just wanted to get this information out there and let you know about it. And hopefully you can share this video, let more people know about it. I want to do these videos live because I don't want there to be any script. I hope you know that there is no script here. I don't have some screen to read off of. I think you can tell. But it gets me worked up. It gets my blood moving. I get like almost teary-eyed because I know what happens next. It's this debt, all of the stuff that they're going through that's getting pushed on us right now. They're not owning up to it. It's going to be us that have to pick it up. And ironically enough, it's always the individuals like Jerome Powell that are like, oh, the youth these days, they don't really know what hard work is. It's like, really? You set them up for success, didn't you? You really set them up for success. You've done a great job there. They're going to be able to, like, are we going to be able to get Social Security? I highly doubt it. And why is it even there in the first place? It's all of this going on is just ridiculous. And it just scares me because if we actually saw the truth, in my personal opinion, what I think is going on is the dollar index is falsely held up because we're a bad representation of what the reserve currency should be. So other countries right now are looking at us and being like, look, they get away with it. Let's print too. And then they go, oh, look at, they're doing it. Let's do it too. Let's print too. Right? And you're going to see that continue to snowball. And that's what we do see. And what you'll hear that line is, oh, well, the dollar is doing so well because it's the least dirty shirt in the dirty hamper. We've heard that line a million times. On my Instagram, I posted that funny meme of the dollar being the gold trash bag with all the other regular trash bags, right? But at the end of the day, what happens if there's something that makes all of them go down in unison in value? That one of them doesn't shine, they're just all dirty and people want a clean shirt. What if that happens? How would that go? You know, part of me thinks that there is an ability for there to be a new reserve asset that's decentralized. And to me, it's Bitcoin right now. And I think that would help everyone tremendously because everything's already digital, but this is at least something that not one entity controls and it's decentralized. And we know for a fact that there's a hard cap that's divisible by 100 million units. So you have one Bitcoin, it gets divisible by Satoshis into 100 million units of account. So it can be infinitely divisible. So if you have $1 million Bitcoin, you have a 1 cent denomination in Satoshis. That's how divisible it is in that way. So if I'm going to have a digital currency, which the dollar is already digital, I would much rather it be Bitcoin. I would much rather it be an asset that can also be a currency and be Bitcoin. Now, I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to allow that to be adopted in the same way like El Salvador did. But I don't think they're going to have a choice in the future if more and more people use the off-ramps to get into something that's decentralized. Silver is decentralized. Well, The problem is they can use the paper market to manipulate it. But if everybody keeps holding the silver, it's only a 1.4 trillion cap. And actually now that cap's gone down. So it's like around 1.2 trillion, something like that, in that range. So can that needle get moved? Absolutely. It's just going to take more time than an AMC or a GME or whatever, a GameStop. It's going to take more time because it's a large cap. But the problem with gold is gold sitting up there at 12 trillion, and all these central banks, the Fed, all these central banks around the world have a lot of gold. So there's a huge cap there of 12 trillion. We don't know exactly how much is out there, so it's a harder needle to move. Ironically, they're talking about making this coin out of platinum. Now, that's a very easy needle to move for the public because it's only a couple $100 billion on the cap of platinum. So platinum, silver, palladium, rhodium, every metal that is being eaten up by industry, that's the metals that I'm after myself. I'm still a big buyer of silver. I'm still a big buyer of platinum. I also really like Bitcoin and what it stands for. And as I've made this video, it's gone up a bit. But I would imagine I could see Bitcoin's price going into the hundreds of thousands. So for me, it started out as like a insurance play. I put like 5% into Bitcoin, and I made videos on this, and this is back when before it was 10,000. So my first large position in Bitcoin was under 10,000, and I'd made videos on it, trying to tell people, I don't want to be that person patting myself on the back, but you can go back to the videos I made talking where I said I think Peter Schiff is wrong about Bitcoin. But I never liked this idea of the precious metals industry butting heads with the Bitcoin community because it's a great insurance play for the digital realm. It's at least it's something digital that's not being tampered with by an individual government. And as we can see right now with what they're doing, they're digitally injecting money. They're digitally helping themselves with our digitally injected money. So why can't we use something that is out of their system that the people actually value, that's digital, and has a hard cap that nobody can mess with, that's immutable? I like that concept. So I've gone so far down the rabbit hole of it, learning how to build a node, learning how cold storage works so I can actually take custody. Because just like with metals, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. With Bitcoin, not your keys, not your coins. So if you have your Bitcoin on an exchange, you got to get it into a cold storage and actually own it. And it's like your little wire transfer device where you can send a wire anywhere in the world 24/7, 365. You don't have to ask any bank how much to send, when you're sending it, anything like that. You have full control of all of your Bitcoin 24/7, 365. It's pretty elegant. It's better than any wire transfer service. The wires now, anything over $600, you're going to get a nice little write-up on you by these individuals. So that's where my whole kind of astonishment that Bitcoin even exists. I hope that these on-ramps and off-ramps exist for the future so that people can get their Bitcoin into their own custody and they don't force people to hold it in the exchanges like they do with stocks, because this is different than a stock. A stock, I can't take my Apple stock, take it off their exchange, put it into my own storage and say, I have my Apple stock here in my own storage. No, I have to trust TD Ameritrade. I have to trust Scottrade. I have to trust E-Trade, Robinhood, whatever. Hopefully they have my stocks. Hopefully they'll allow me to sell it. Hopefully the bank is solvent for me to sell the stock, put it into my bank, and I can get the money from the bank. And hopefully the dollar doesn't crash in that whole time period of me trying to get my money out. That's what I'm scared about with the stock market. I'll make a separate video specifically on why I'm scared about the stock market right now. But with Bitcoin, if I buy it, I can take it off of Coinbase, I can take it off of Cash App, I can take it off of these exchanges and put it into my own device where I have full control over it. And all I need is internet and electricity, and I have access to sending my money anywhere in the world. And I could go to El Salvador, get a permanent residency for 3 Bitcoin, and I can literally buy McDonald's with Bitcoin on my own device with no government interference. Like, that's the future. That's where we need to go, in that direction, where people have full control of even the digital money. Not just the metals, but also the digital. So I think Peter Schiff has done a big disservice to the gold community, because it's not that there should be a war. It should be that this isn't okay. This isn't okay. The movement shouldn't be gold is better than you, silver is better than you, or Bitcoin's better than you. The movement should be, I need to take my money out of the powers that be and take control of my money in all ways possible. So I need some silver. I'll even take a little bit of gold. I don't like it as much as I like Bitcoin and silver and platinum, but I like silver, platinum, Bitcoin. Those are my holdings. That's pretty much my all-in portfolio. It's that simple. And building my own business. I hope you do too. Not financial advice, but that's just where I'm at. My position back when Bitcoin was under 10,000, when I made these videos saying I think Peter Schiff is wrong about this, that was when I bought my first position. I had structured it. You can go and watch those videos if you're interested. They're still posted. None of my videos have been deleted. And I had talked about it then, and I'll say it now. Back then I said, this is a risky thing. I don't know how much I believe in this, but I'm going to put 5% of my decentralized portfolio into Bitcoin. Turns out that 5% turned into like 10%, 15%, 25%, because it just kept growing in value from that when I first bought, which is around like 7,000, 8,000. It was an insurance play. The insurance play worked out. Now, I still have that same argument. Foolish to be all in, foolish to have none. That's my stance on it. I hope this video helped you. I hope that those are good solutions or possible solutions to this madness, because really, just like the Fed was meant to put checks and balances on everything, but now they're all friends and they're not doing checks and balances. They're just taking advantage of their positions. Bitcoin and metals can put checks and balances on the banks and say, look, if you don't start treating us right, the people are not going to give you funds. We're sick of it. We're taking our funds into our own hands, and you are going to have to ask for our money back. And at that point, we're going to have leverage. And we're going to say, look, you banks are making a fortune off of us. We've been giving you free money for a long time. You're going to have to pay for the people's capital, not 0%. That's not okay. You're going to have to pay for the people's capital. And also, you're going to have to give us an interest rate to compensate for the inflation that you all created on us. You're going to have to do the right thing and give us an interest rate on our capital. Or Jamie Dimon, all of you CEOs, we want our money from your bank and we want to put it in our own places until you treat us right. And then even then, I'm going to be skeptical. That's the video. That's everything I wanted to talk about. I probably missed a lot of these comments over here. This one, I have a lot of stuff on my mind. Let me scroll through real quick to, if I missed some super chats, let me get through it. Sorry, this one, I'm heated in this one. So, especially because it's live, it's a little embarrassing to get super heated, but it's really bothering me, this whole scenario, especially what Yellen said, especially that Powell took advantage of his position and all the people in the Fed take advantage of us, in my opinion. Not disclaimer, whatever. Crypto King says, please explain Basel III, how it works and how it will help the price of silver. Thanks and great show. You know what? I'm going to write that down because I got to make a video. A lot of people have brought up Basel III to me, so I'm going to actually make a video specifically on Basel III. You have a little pad right there. I'll write that down. That'd be a long conversation. So I will make a video, I promise, in the near future where I actually post it on the channel. So if you're not subscribed, would really appreciate it if you subscribe. If you can smash that like, really would appreciate it if you could smash the like. It really, really does help this video get out there. We have 190 people in here. See, that's from smashing the like button. So I really appreciate you doing that. And it helps get this content out there. And I hope this content helps people. I hope it's worthy of sharing and telling friends about, because this is scary times. This is ridiculous. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go through the comments now. We'll do some little bit of Q&A. Tell you what, how many likes do we got on the video, guys? We're at, 143 likes? If we get to 200 likes up in here, I'll flip it over and we'll go another 30 minutes. We get to 200 likes, I'll flip it over. How about that? That just tells me if you guys want me to keep going. If you don't, throw a dislike and we'll end it sooner than that. So, but if you want me to keep going, I'll go another 30 minutes if you hit it up to 200 likes. We're at 150, so 50 more likes. I'm going to go through a few more comments here. And if we do that, I'll keep it going. Let me get through. I don't want to miss any of the super chats. I really appreciate the super chats, guys. It adds up and it means a lot to me. VRB Vlogs says they're essentially stealing the people's money. TRB Vlogs, I totally agree with you. There couldn't be a worse scenario than getting paid, because deep down, and this is actually some really good information that I want to make a specific video, but I'm going to drop it in my live feed as well. So if you have the time to do these live feeds, I'm going to drop like the segments that I want to do smaller videos on. But if you don't do it, I will do videos in the future, and I'll try my best, but I try to drop all the information I possibly can. But when you work a job, it's essentially your time being stored, and you're getting paid for your time. So if you're working for somebody and you're working, say, 60 hours a week, you're giving up 60 hours of your time, 60 hours of your life to be compensated for the currency that they diluted. So that is theft. It is absolutely theft, because you are being robbed of your time. You're getting paid with something that is diluted and inflated. They're not paying you with Bitcoin that's limited. They're not paying you with silver that's limited. They're not paying you in gold, platinum, anything like that. What they're paying you in is something that they have control over and can make $1 trillion coin out of thin air, and then meanwhile tell you that it's holding its value. Right now, when it still has the value, while it's still at 94 and nothing crazy has happened yet, in my opinion, by the way, disclaimer, I don't know how many times I have to say that to like feel okay. But it's a theft of your time, because if they've just like not even hypothetically, but just if they've injected 40% of the monetary supply, roughly, let's just say 40%, just simple math would tell you that the dollar is worth 40% less. But I mean, the math is obviously going to be much different than that. But obviously, the currency that you're being paid in has been diluted because there's much more of it out there. It's very simple. So if we're getting paid in it, and this is the storage of our time, but everything costs more money. So there's two ways of theft, or like many, many ways of theft, actually. So they're trying to get unrealized capital gains, which is a way of theft. The other way of theft is that when you go to buy gas or you go to buy your groceries, it's going to cost more because of inflation. So it's going to cost more, but your wage was the same. They're not, just because a steak went from $20 to $30 doesn't mean that your employer is going to pay you from $20 to $30 an hour. That's not going to happen. So you're going to keep getting your same wage, but that steak is just going to cost more money. Same thing with the gas, same thing with everything across the board. So that's another way of invisible taxation theft. And then if you do have some money away and you don't know about these ways of keeping your money, which is precious metals, Bitcoin, real estate, having your own cash flow business, there's a lot of ways to, or not a lot, but there's a few. And if you know how to do it, you can keep the capital. But if you do that and you have some money in the bank, they don't pay you an interest rate. So whatever the inflation is it's chipping away at your entire holdings of whatever's liquid fiat dollars in the bank, because they're not paying you an interest rate to compensate for the inflation that they created. So there's multiple ways of the money being taken out of your back pocket. You get it in the front and it's slowly getting taken out of the back pocket and you just don't see it coming. And before you know it, we might be in a situation where the dollar index starts going down to where it should be, which is like 70, 65 in that range. But if they all go down at the same time, the scenario is very scary, because what I think happens, like if I was going to outline what I think happens in the overall markets, is that we go through kind of a stagflation. That, like Jerome said, he said, we will use our tools. If whatever happens, we will use the tools at our disposal. Even though we said we're going to raise the rates, even though we said that we're going to taper, we're going to do all these things, we will still use our tools if we think otherwise. If they do that, it's just going to keep getting inflated. So basically they would keep injecting money into the stock market, and then they'd keep it kind of flat, like slowly going up or slowly going down, but somewhat flat. And that would be like a stagflation environment where you'd see a detachment of precious metals. You see a detachment of Bitcoin at some point, because they're just stagflation the money. And then eventually it's going to start sucking out of that, and then it'll all come crashing down. But it might take everything down with it. So one of the theories I have is, like, say silver goes to, say, 75, Bitcoin goes up to, hypothetically, to 250,000, gold goes up to 33,000, palladium's at 5,000, all that stuff happens, and then everything collapses. It might go down, but it might have a cushion there because of the stagflation environment, which made sense to get into it right now, so to speak. So it could bring everything down, like 2008 and 2007, everything crashed in unison, but there might be a bit of a cushion due to the stagflation environment from their excessive money printing. So that's kind of a theory that I have, and hopefully it helps you kind of draw your theories. But please post comments down below and say what you think could happen, because we all learn from each other. That's just my personal dive at it, so to speak. And it's very, very hard to try to pinpoint how it's going to happen, but I think that's my personal take on it. I hope it helps you in some way. Or TRB Vlogs, I really appreciate the super chat. Thank you, man. Let me go now. We're at 180 likes. You guys really want me to do this for another 30 minutes. So if you don't want me to do it, throw a dislike. Don't like it, then I'll stop this. But I'm going to go through these comments, and if we do get to 200, then I will keep it going and we'll keep it rolling. We still have 184 people in here, and so I do like to get to all of your comments. In the end of these live streams is when I start doing the Q&As. Just going through all of these here. If you did a super chat and I missed you, please let me know, but I really appreciate you doing those. Like I said, I don't do advertisements. There was some blockchain-based gold and silver company that wanted me to advertise for them, and they probably would have given me a lot of money. They sent me like 8 emails, but I literally sent them back, have you watched my videos? Because I said blockchain-based gold and silver is a bad idea because you have to trust a custodian. Why would I advertise that? I can't do that. Like, there's no way I would do that. It bothered me. I forget what the company's name is. I don't want to say their name because I don't know if they could come after me or something, but it's not a good idea to be in blockchain-based gold and silver. Buy the real thing. I don't care who you get it from, but buy the real thing. Same thing with Bitcoin. Don't have it in an exchange. Have it in a cold storage. Learn cold storage. If you think it's complex, it's not that complex. You figure it out. But get into cold storage. I'll probably be making videos on that, or I will be making videos on that, and like how to run your own node. Basically, your own node can be your own wire transfer mechanism with Bitcoin, and you can have a cold storage that and your own verification machine, which is called the full node. So if you look up full node, if you write it down, full node and cold storage, it's pretty eye-opening. Like I came as a big skeptic, and when I saw the way that you can hold a digital asset outside of the system and verify it yourself, that was like totally wild to me. And now I've been like just down the rabbit hole of learning every intricate detail. So the reason I spent so much time on Twitter is so I can learn about all this and share this with you, because I think that Peter Schiff has done a disservice, obviously, because Bitcoin has gone up quite a bit. It's a disservice because it was from the very get-go, my argument hasn't changed on it. It's an insurance play. It could be wrong. That's why I didn't put more than 5%. If I was wrong, I could afford to lose 5%. But because I used that insurance play and I made the video so that the proof is there, that 5% went from, I think my first coin was like 8,000, and now it's 43,000. So the insurance play worked out. So now it's a lot more than 5% because I had that insurance play, but I could have afforded to lose the 5%. I didn't go all in. So the way that Peter Schiff had structured it, I'm like, no, all things decentralized is a great idea. All things decentralized. It's not a headbutting match. There's over $1 quadrillion when you add in derivatives. It's like a $900 trillion basket without derivatives. You add in the derivatives market, you're like 1.4 quadrillion, I think is the number, which is a crazy thing to think about. But there's only about 15 trillion in all precious metals and Bitcoin combined on their market cap. It's about 15 trillion. But you have $900 trillion, not including derivatives, out there. Should we really be butting our heads at each other in that $15 trillion space? Or should we be worried about that excessive amount of money printing out here and how much of it is going to flow into decentralized assets? That's what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about getting in some headbutting gold versus Bitcoin argument. I want them both. That's how I feel. But I like industrial precious metals more than gold. But anyway, let's keep going through this. I'm sorry I rant a little bit. I think I've made it to the bottom of the comments here. We're at 193 likes, so it looks like you guys want me to keep going on here. If you do, 7 more people hit the like button, and I'll keep it going for another 30 minutes, and we'll do some more comments here. I didn't miss any of the super chats, I don't think. Let me go through. And how's the quality of the live stream, by the way? If I want to make sure that these, because now I got it dialed into a point where I can just literally click a button, and I can go through the scenes and stuff on here too, which is wild. I'm getting better at I didn't realize how cool the Stream Deck was. I literally had bought this and it was sitting there for so long and I hadn't figured it out. Spent some time on it and I figured it out. So it feels good. Oh, we did. We got to 200. I appreciate it. Honestly, thank you, everybody, because it's like a cheesy thing to do, but it also tells me that you want me to keep going, because I'm not going to keep going if you don't want me to keep going, sort of thing. But I'll keep going. Really appreciate it. We'll go another 30 minutes. I appreciate you all. So I'm looking at the comments right now. What's up, Zane? How are you, man? Zane is one of the original silver squirrels up in here. I appreciate you being here, man. Got my fancy water with that electrolyte stuff in it. And by the way, to those of you that think I'm out of silver, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 ounces of silver up there on the counter. So that's a good amount up there. Not. Also, I have my 1,000-ounce bars, but I don't really want to break my back right now. Still have all of them. Haven't sold any of them. I have a very large silver position. Don't intend to sell it, especially my own personal holdings and my own personal collection of vintage silver and all my weight. I keep it. So even though my website's down, I'm working on a new one behind the scenes. I just don't want to, I want to hold inventory right now. And to be honest with you, I own the whole company. I don't have anyone, it's just me. So I want to hold the holdings. Like, I don't want to sell. That's how I feel. So what kind of company does that? I'm not pushing products. I don't want to sell you anything at Mineral Exchange. We're closing the doors. We're holding. I'm with the silver squirrels. We're holding until we launch the new site. But I want to hold silver at these levels. And if people have been following me for a long time, you know that. Like, the site's the same. If you want to put your email in there, I'll let you know when the new site comes out. But in the current positions, like, I don't want to. I think it's they're giving it away. Super chat from ZTK. Do you see a world where we stop quoting in dollars? It is a unit of account with no value. Such a good question. ZTK, appreciate the super chat, man. Wow, that's a really good question, and especially for everybody listening. I appreciate you bringing that up. It seems that there needs to be checks and balances. What I see happening in the near future, and I've thought about this a lot. Let me know what you think of this theory that I've put together here. Excuse me, drank about a bunch of water. If Bitcoin succeeds and it becomes, let's say, $1 million Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's it's less than $1 trillion. So to get to $1 million Bitcoin, I made a video specifically on this. It's actually not that far-fetched. Bitcoin would basically have to take roughly, so of the $900 trillion basket out there, 2.5% of it goes into Bitcoin. And the reason I think Bitcoin can get there is because it's so easy to buy it. It's like when it first started out, when Bitcoin first started, there was like this clogged up freeway. And nobody really trusted this freeway. There's a lot of cars on it, really hard to get places, kind of like the 405 in LA. So really clogged up freeway. Not a lot of people trusted it, a lot of accidents, stuff like that. But in today's day and age, which I think is highly overlooked on a macro level, and I've talked about this in the past, is there's like 20 freeways. There's Cash App, there's PayPal, there's Venmo, there's Coinbase, Gemini Exchange, Binance, like all of these different crypto.com, like all these different things, ways to buy Bitcoin. That there's multiple freeways, they're all secure, and they're all moving cars a lot faster, and people are impulse buying. My first Bitcoin came from Cash App. It was an impulse buy. I'm like, I got extra money in here, I'll buy Bitcoin. And it turns out that made me a lot of money. And then I had to protect that Bitcoin. I'm like, how do I protect it? I have to get it in cold storage, take it out of there, and they limit you. They only allow you to take 2,000 a day, 5,000 a week out of Cash App. So know that. Some of these exchanges limit you from taking it out. So make sure the second you buy it, you start taking it out of the exchange and take custody of it. And when you take custody of it, now you have actual thing. But the on-ramp is so wide and easy to do impulse buys, and there's a $900 trillion basket looking for something in the digital realm that has liquidity, that's easy to get an on-ramp to. And you see companies like Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy buying over $5 billion worth of it and putting it on their balance sheet. You see ARK Invest buying a large amount of Bitcoin. You're seeing like this is already happening. So these institutions are going into this digital asset. Now, if that does win and it does start making itself as a presence, it basically, what I see it as a checks and balances layer on the fiat currencies. And same thing with silver, same thing with gold. Gold not as much because the central banks have gold. They already have it. So it's like you can't really put them in check with something that they already own. We don't really know how much gold is out there. They say 12 trillion. It could be 20 trillion. We don't know how much gold is out there, but we do know how much Bitcoin is out there. And we do know a lot better picture of how much silver is out there. Not exact like Bitcoin, but a lot better picture because industry eats it up year over year. Same thing with platinum. Same thing with palladium. So that's why I'm more bullish on the other precious metals and not as bullish on gold. And that's a great thing because more people can afford silver. More people can afford platinum. I think that gold doesn't have the same type of return on investment as these other metals in the future. That's just my planet. I think it'll be a slower horse in the race. But back to the question, and hopefully this answers it. I don't like to just kind of beat around the bush. I want to actually answer the question. If something succeeds as a layer outside of it, say it's Bitcoin and it succeeds, then it has checks and balances for the fiat currencies to start acting right. Because if the citizens aren't treated right, they can go, you know what? I'm leaving your currency and I'm going into this other layer. I'm leaving your currency, I'm going into silver. I'm leaving your currency, I'm going into Bitcoin. Now they have leverage over the corruption that happens on the dilution of these currencies. So in that situation, I see it that it wouldn't be like an overnight thing. I don't see like Bitcoin just being an overnight, you can buy everything in Bitcoin, even though you can do that in El Salvador right now. And I'd imagine Venezuela is next. I'm surprised they weren't first. Venezuela's had a real tough time with their currency, but El Salvador is already, you can literally walk into a McDonald's and buy McDonald's in El Salvador with Bitcoin. That's crazy. You can actually do that right now. Like it's not like a thing in the future. So there it's hyper Bitcoinized. You can do that. But if that expanded, I don't think the dollar is just going to go away. I don't think the euro is just going to go away, or the CAD or anything like that is just going to go away, or the digital yuan. I think that they're going to have more checks and balances on them. And they're going to, if people see that their government and the Fed is overly printing and diluting the currency, they're going to move it out of the bank and they're going to put it into their own asset. And it could be Bitcoin, it could be silver, it could be their business, whatever it is that they put their money into, real estate, to get it out of the system. I think that's what happens. And then it eventually has more checks and balances on the fiat. And that's what I hope, because I would like to see the fiat currencies kind of get tokenized in a way where it's like, I don't know if I want to be in the dollar token because they really diluted the supply. You start looking at it like crypto. Like, I'm only in Bitcoin because I look at everything else like it doesn't make sense. And I'm probably going to make a video, I will make a video in the future on why I'm only Bitcoin. I'm not into Ethereum, not into Cardano, not into any of these other cryptos. I think that it's foolish. The problem is very simple. The solution is very complex. The problem is having sound money that has a hard cap. The solution is Bitcoin. So it's like it solves the simple problem with the complex solution. It's already there. So I don't need the next self-driving lawnmower of Uber or whatever. Like, I don't need that. And that's where these other tokens seem to be to me the more I study them. But I think that it tokenizes the fiats in a way where Bitcoin is king, but the fiats are like these tokens that are like, maybe I'll go into your token. Maybe I'll go into your token. How many do you have? How much have you diluted? Your Doge token? Like, you diluted it to the billions of tokens? I don't know. It's pretty diluted. Is that a hard cap? Okay, maybe I'll go into your token. I see them being more of a fiat tokenized world with an overwatch, like a checks and balances layer. That's how I see it. Sorry for rambling, but that's kind of how I see it. I hope that makes some sense. If it makes some sense, let me know. That's how I feel about it. At least, and I've thought about that question a lot. So the person that sent me that super chat, I really appreciate it, and I hope that helps you. Let me see. I think there was another super chat. Wait, Crypto King, please tell me where I can get a Bitcoin clock like you have on the shelf. They're gonna have to pay me something. These NVK, you watching me? You're gonna have to pay me something. I paid for that. It's funny, like I don't like waiting. So instead of a lot of YouTubers that like contact companies back, hey, I do a YouTube channel. Will you send me some free stuff? I'd really appreciate it. I just buy it. Like, I just go, I want that clock thing. How much is it? $300, $400? I'll buy it. Just send it. And then I'll probably like look back on the time. I could have probably got that for free. I wanted to have it on the shelf. I couldn't help myself. The crystal, I didn't contact a crystal company. I like that crystal. I like that little light thing. I bought that too. Like, I just buy all the stuff. No handouts around here. But it's called a block clock. Block Clock Mini is the name of it. It's a cool clock thing. It's like $400, so it's pretty expensive. Yeah. Brucey says, I think that's pretty much Saylor's take. I've been inspired by Saylor quite a bit, so I would imagine that I regurgitate a good amount of information that he said in the past. I don't know if he said that it's going to tokenize fiats. He said that the dollar is still going to be the railway, like it's going to be the main railway. I think it gets like tokenized with all of them because they're all kind of fake. So he tends to like, and the reason for that is he's like padding the blows a little bit because he wants to play chess and he doesn't want them to be scared of Bitcoin. He wants it to slowly roll out and then get past the point of no return. So he tends to like play into things and be like, yeah, the dollar is going to be the gateway of it. It's just going to run on dollar railway sort of thing. That's how I think about it. To the guy that asked about my watch, it's a Yachtmaster. I've been trying to cover it. I don't want to be like gaudy and stuff. I like to wear it because it reminds me of, it's like a sentimental type thing. So I've been trying to like not be like, check out my Rolex in every video. But the person that asked that, USD, hang on, let me move this over here. USD is already a digital currency, just a really bad one from a user's perspective. Exactly. Oh, and I totally agree with that. We already have people that talk about like cashless society. When's the last time that you used a large amount of cash? I mean, here's how you know we're moving out of a cashless society is all of us in collectibles, we know about $1,000 bills, $500 bills, right? Sold quite a bit of them. Old gold notes, things like that. We had $10,000 bills, $100,000 bills even. Why don't those exist? Why don't we have $1 trillion coin in our circulation? the reason for that is because they've limited it down to $100. So I have had 100,000 in cash, and I can tell you it's a lot. It's like a good sizable chunk, and it's like that's very annoying. Like I would rather not do that. It's super super annoying. And when you get $1 million in cash, it's like a good duffel bag full of cash. It's very heavy. It's like 50 pounds or something. It's like very annoying. Where if you had $1,000 bills, it'd be 10 times lighter. But they don't have that. Why is that? Because it's going digital. I mean, that's the easiest way that I can prove it is like, why do we not have a higher denomination than $1? Why is our money made with fake metals and not with the real? They even have the audacity to keep the ridges in the coins. So the reason the coins have ridges is so that people wouldn't scrape the side of their gold coin, and you knew that the full amount of the 1 ounce of gold was there, and nobody scraped it down. But they keep the rims there with fake, non-real precious. There's not any precious metal content, but they keep it there just to make us know that we're using monopoly money, sort of thing. It's like, and they colored the notes now like it's monopoly money. They keep it in. They don't even give Monopoly. At least gives you a $500 bill, I think, the orange one, right? Where's our $500? Where's our monopoly money? Come on. What's going on? At least give us the $500 bill. It's crazy. It just blows my mind. Ultra Baron, really appreciate that, man. He gave me a super chat, $5. Really appreciate that, Ultra Baron. He says, I'm depressed. I'm an ape from Reddit Wall Street Silver. I bought 300K of silver and it's only been going down. Please tell me something. I'm with you. I have a similar amount. So I'm with you, like literally with you in physical silver. I have a lot of collectible silver, a lot of stuff like that as well. I mean, in the hundreds of thousands. So I don't want to like say exact numbers or anything, but I have a lot. Back in the day, people gave me a lot of flack. If you go back to my video of where I called Peter Schiff out and I said, I think he's wrong about Bitcoin, people gave me a lot of problems on that. And I said, I like Bitcoin. I like to have a small percentage of my portfolio in Bitcoin. That kept my head above water because I had that small percentage in Bitcoin. Having a decentralized portfolio and having a bit of diversification in it is what helped me. And I tried to put that information out there. I really did. At the time, I really did. I went, and I have nothing to gain by promoting Bitcoin. I plan to accept Bitcoin in the future. I don't have anything to gain about talking about it right now. That's how you know it's coming from the heart. I have everything to gain by selling you silver, by selling you gold, by selling you platinum. I have everything to gain there. Watches, whatever it is, I have something to gain there. But when I talk about Bitcoin, that's the funny thing is like I get a lot of hate from talking about Bitcoin, and it's like I have nothing to gain. I'm just trying to help people. Like I think it's a great thing. I think it could really help the world. I don't see any other solution in the digital realm. You don't have to trust a custodian. You can have all of your money on your own device. Like I studied it inside and out. I built my own full node. I built my own devices. I figured all of it out, and I try to share that information to help people because I think Bitcoin could really get to $1 million a coin. People thought I was crazy back when it was like 8,000. They really thought I was crazy, especially dealers, friends of mine. But it kept my head above water, and now I have a very large Bitcoin position. I think that it's something to sit your hands on, and I think still, if that was my only position and I was all in only on silver, I would want a small position in Bitcoin. That's how I would be personally, not financial advice, but personally, that's what I did, like literally. And that's what kept my head above water because I had that diversification. The thing about Bitcoin, like Jacob just said, he wants the volume of Bitcoin to go up. It's like, it's $1 trillion space. I mean, 900 billion to $1 trillion. My room, although the silver squirrels were a powerful bunch. I mean, the apes are a powerful bunch too, but the squirrels were cunning little critters. Silver squirrels were cunning. I plan on coming out with my own products around silver squirrels because I like that. I like the ring to silver squirrels. If somebody tries to use that, it originated here and we know it. I don't need to put no proprietary thing out there, but we know where the silver squirrel movement started. It was here. So I wouldn't be only in one metal. I like silver, I like platinum, and I like Bitcoin, and I like palladium. Those are my spots. Like I like those. And Bitcoin held me above water. It's a much larger position than I ever anticipated, and I think it's only getting more and more adopted. I didn't think that these companies were going to start converting their balance sheets so soon. I had bought before El Salvador converted it and made it a currency. and so that you could actually buy stuff in their country. That's very big news because it starts a domino effect for all these smaller countries out there to start adopting Bitcoin and accepting Bitcoin as legal tender because their currencies are rough. Obviously, they would rather do Bitcoin. Their currencies are very rough over there. So they're going to adopt this, and they're going to also keep the dollar for now, and they're just going to keep letting people buy stuff in Bitcoin. People are going to accept Bitcoin. They're probably going to make a good amount of money holding the Bitcoin. But that I see that adoption curve happening, and it's past the point of no return with it, and I've studied it. I was so skeptical. I totally was the Peter Schiff type that didn't think anything of Bitcoin, and the one thing I would say with Peter Schiff is I would argue, has he actually held a cold storage device? Has he actually ran a full node? Has he seen how elegant it is to send Bitcoin from one wallet to another wallet with just a copy paste of one wallet address? Boom, boom, done. No intermediary. I don't have to walk into a bank and sign a bunch of paperwork. 24/7, 365, you get an immediate soft contract where it tells you immediately, this is on the way. It's going to take a little bit of time. It's on the way. And then about 30 minutes later, boom, the money's there. It's like, this is brilliant. Like when I first saw it happen, and I've used Venmo so many times, I've used Cash App so many times, I've used Zelle, I've used all these PayPal, all of these online payment platforms where it's just a digital layer of money that is back to nothing. This is the first time I've used a digital layer that I have full control over. I have the passwords to it. I know them all. They're in my head. Nobody else has them. I have them. I verify it with my own node. Like that is a very powerful thing. And people from the precious metals industry, they just need to be, I think one of us in the precious metals industry had to not be that stubborn about it and learn about it and actually absorb it. And so it's been nice with the Twitter thing is a lot of these Bitcoin maximalists, so you'd speak, they even call themselves toxic maximalists, where they're like, oh, you're not all in Bitcoin, you're a fool sort of thing. But when I asked them questions, even though I come from precious metals, they were very helpful. They really helped me learn a lot about it. And I must have spent 1,000 hours studying Bitcoin, because I still am skeptical. But so far, I can't find anything wrong. And so I plan to not sell any of it. And I'm up quite a bit. So that's my answer on that. I think that it's the best strategy is having your own business, number one, making a cash flow business, whatever that cash flow business might be. You might want to be a smoothie shop. You might want to have a t-shirt company. You might have a great hat idea. You might have, there's a million, somebody there's so many different industries, so many different ideas. The first thing should be, how do I make $5,000 a month consistently without having to check in with any boss? Not that, how can I get to $1 million? How can I make 5,000 consistently every month? How can I make 10,000 consistently every month? Then your quality of life changes and you feel comfortable. I guess I didn't really answer the question. I just said that what helped me is being diversified in Bitcoin and stuff. But I guess my answer to it would be, when you look at a hawk, and it's on top of a tree branch, right? And it's on some sketchy tree branch and it looks like it's about to crack and it looks like it's about to fall. And the hawk's just sitting there all stoic, not caring. And it's on the top of this crazy tree, and you're like, man, you could really fall and hurt yourself on that thing, and that branch looks like it's not holding you very well. And the hawk's just sitting there stoic, not really caring. It's because it relies on its wings, and it trusts its wings. It knows that even if all things fell and the tree branch cracked, it would just fly away. It'd be all right. So be like that hawk and make sure that you can rely on your wings and find a way to consistently make cash flow and make your own printer, because if they're printing money, you got to be able to go with inflation by making your own money printer to go at the same rate. So that'd be starting your own business. And that's the real American dream, not working for somebody. Starting your own money printer is the key. So that's really the answer. So if I had 300,000 in silver, I would sell a good little bit of it to start a business. If that was where all of my money is and I had no extra money, I would run a cash flow business first and foremost, before anything, before Bitcoin, before silver, before platinum, before any of it. I would make sure I had a consistent stream of money coming in before I made an investment and relied only on that investment. That would be my answer. If that works. Rob says that with a lot of physical to help him sleep at night. It's true. I sleep very well knowing that I have the real thing. I don't have some ETF. I don't trust some digital blockchain-based company that wants to pay me 10 grand or whatever to do an endorsement deal for them. I don't care about their money. I don't want their money. I want to tell the truth, and I think blockchain-based gold and silver is a very foolish idea. Own the real thing, and you will sleep better at night. That's how I feel, at least personally. Not financial advice. But I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. It bums me out that there's been this narrative that Peter, like how much money has Peter Schiff lost people? Like how much opportunity has he lost people talking so bad about Bitcoin since it was like hundreds of dollars? I wish I was into it when it was a couple $100 and I bought a bunch of them. That would be amazing. But it's like he must feel pretty foolish because it really wasn't ever supposed to be a war. It wasn't supposed to be this headbutting match between gold and Bitcoin. It should just be, wow, that's an interesting digital way to store an asset. You can hold it in your own device. You don't have to trust an exchange. You can hold it in your own thing, and it's a digital layer that's decentralized, and people are investing in it on an institutional level. Okay, I'll take a few percentages of it. Not all in. I'll take 2, 3%, 5%. See what happens. That should have been the narrative. And if you did do that back when it was like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, what a great insurance play that was. What a great, like now it's gotten so high that it's losing that insurance narrative, but I still would say that it's a great insurance play. I think it's rather cheap. I think it could easily, there it's refreshing right now, 43.5. It pulled back from 65. It's a pretty good pullback. That's how I feel about it. Crypto King says, I lost listening to Peter. The thing about Peter is he's his philosophy, his libertarian philosophies, his outlook on government is all sound. It's all great. And I learn I watch his videos prior to making my videos. What do he say on the Fed? How does he feel about this? You know, I look up to him quite a bit. I think he's a very intelligent individual. I just don't understand the stubborn way of going, because the argument shouldn't be all in Bitcoin versus all in gold. It should be, gold stackers going, I like my gold. I think gold's going to do well, and I feel very good about my gold position, but I could use a 5% position in Bitcoin to test it out and see what you're all talking about. Let's see what's happening with that. I'll have a 5% position. And then that 5% position could be like me, where it turns into a 50% position because you bought that insurance play and then you did well on that one. And then you might be able to leverage that and get more gold if you thought gold was undervalued at these prices. But I always like the trade of having Bitcoin, silver, platinum, palladium, because if one does really well, like when palladium was up at 3,000, I could sell some palladium and buy Bitcoin when it's underpriced. If Bitcoin goes to 65, I can move some. So I don't want to sell my Bitcoin. I've never sold my Bitcoin, but I could leverage it if in that scenario. I didn't in this scenario, but when I was at 65, I could use a institution. There's just not one that I trust yet, but you can leverage it where someone holds the Bitcoin. You get a leverage loan against it. I did that on a person-to-person basis where I trust a friend of mine to hold the Bitcoin, and I've done that where they hold the Bitcoin and I've gotten a loan against my Bitcoin. So I have leveraged it. I just didn't trust an institution, but it takes a while to build a reputation on it to do that. But leveraging it so you don't declare a capital gain, and then being able to move into things that you think are undervalued. Gold's on a big pullback right now. Really, the pullback is silver. Like, that's what I don't understand about Peter. He never talks about silver, never talks about platinum, never talks about palladium, never talks about rhodium. But palladium's chart is amazing. That 10-year chart on palladium is very impressive. The 10-year chart on rhodium, very impressive. Platinum is on a huge pullback. Silver is on a huge pullback. And these are actually industrial metals that are being eaten up year over year, whereas gold is only like 10% industrial. So I don't understand why he doesn't bring up the other metals, but I do, because I try to tell stuff from the heart. I don't tell you to go buy gold from wherever. I don't care. If you want to do business with me, put your email on my website. If you don't, get your metal somewhere else and hold it yourself. Don't trust some ETF, even PSLV and all of that. Like, I believe in taking the money out of the system and putting it in your own vault. You sleep better that way. I know there's ones that are better than SLV, but I just want to have the real thing. That's how I feel. Dodge is gambling. Oh yeah, where is Doge now? Because I got a lot of heat for that too. Remember when it was up at like 70 some odd cents before the SNL thing? And I'm like, I don't know about this thing. This thing's pretty wild. I don't know if I trust Elon on this one. What's nice about YouTube is all these videos are posted. Sorry, the ego comes out of me when you get beaten up a bit and then you turn out to be right on something. It's like, yeah, but then you'll get people that are like, what, you said silver, and then you were bullish on silver when it was 25. I was also bullish when it was 18, and I'm still bullish right now. But you get all sides of the spectrums on YouTube because all the videos are posted. But hopefully as people go through my YouTube and they watch the old videos, they know that I mean this stuff and I say it from the heart. What's ironic is before I started the YouTube channel, I was doing better in business than I ever had done, more revenue than ever before, and I still am in that level where I can just immediately turn it back on and have it running at full force. But I got so fascinated with the YouTube thing and actually being able to talk with you all and get my voice out there, and then all of a sudden I did a couple live streams where they just went viral, and I thank you for that. All the people liking, all the people sharing it. It's got the content out, and then boom, like, wait, the YouTube has 20,000 people on it? Wow, that's crazy. I guess I'm going to keep doing the YouTube thing. Like, it just happened so organically, you know? It wasn't like, it was the intention to grow an audience, but it just happened in a way that it made me go, I want to go all in on that and turn off everything else and just sit on my positions and just not just preach it, but be about it, you know? Not just talk about it, but actually be about it and hold it with everybody. So again, my positions personally, Bitcoin, platinum, silver, palladium. I have gold, but it's collectible gold. I'm not really that into holding gold as weight when I have those other options. That's where I am. And building a business. That's where I am. That's how I feel about it. So, I mean, I don't know if anybody can be more. I don't have any program to sell you. Don't have some fancy big list of things that I own. That's what I own. In the physical realm, I have it myself. Like, I don't trust any institution. I don't trust any exchange. I have full control. That's how I roll. And I just wanted to be. Doge is at 20 cents. The only positive I can say about Doge, and yeah, remember that Doge millionaire guy? He was popping up on YouTube. He probably got a good amount of subscribers and stuff. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, because I appreciate it, and I'm trying to grow this channel. But he's probably not the Doge millionaire anymore. I think he's like the Doge 100,000er at this point, because he could have sold it like 70 some odd cents. But yeah, I see that coming because it's got a huge supply. It's not the people's money because it just has a huge supply. People forget with Bitcoin that it's divisible by 100 million units. If they valued Bitcoin in the Satoshi form, which would be similar to how Doge is valued in this very large amount of tokens, there would be a ridiculous amount of Satoshis that would make the price per Satoshi like less than a cent. If Bitcoin gets to 1 million, its unit of account, so like the cent is the unit of account in a dollar. That's the unit of account is a penny in the dollar. The dollar is the full, pennies to a dollar. A Bitcoin, its unit of account is 100 million Satoshis underneath it. And so if you have $1 million Bitcoin, you have a 1 cent Satoshi. And it was designed that way on purpose. It's extremely divisible. So a lot of people just don't even know that, how divisible it is. It's incredibly divisible. So I hope all that information helps you. I hope it inspires you. That's why I took a little bit of a absence, because I was so interested. I wanted to learn everything about it to the point where I literally turned into a computer scientist, like trying to figure out how the nodes thing works. How I literally synced the whole blockchain, studied the whole blockchain, how much gigabytes it takes, how to do this thing, solid state drives, all of this stuff, because I'm fascinated by it and I want to help people learn about it. So to me, it's not about the money. It's about how, I don't want to talk about it until I really am sure about this. And I haven't found anything wrong yet, and I'm still trying. So still very skeptical, still looking at it every day. But so far, it's the best way to have money in the digital realm. I don't see a better way. I don't want to trust a custodian. And with this, I can have money digitally and be the custodian. There's no other option. I don't trust a blockchain-based gold. I don't want them to have the gold, and I trust them that they have it, that they don't get it seized or something. Like, I don't want them to have my gold. I want to have it. And in the digital realm, Bitcoin is the only way. And it's designed perfect. So I hope it helps. I hope it helps. And I hope the information spreads. And I stayed here for a little bit longer. I said if we get to 200 likes, I'll flip the thing. We even actually got more likes. So everybody that liked this video, I appreciate it. We're at 237 likes on this one. I would keep this going all night, but I've decided that it's a good idea to kind of stop them at a certain point so that other people that weren't in the feed can watch it at a later time. Not all of us are able to be up. Some people are in bed right now or something like that. So I want it to be a certain duration of time. I always like to do the Q&A and stuff at the end of the video so that people can, watch the beginning of the video and they don't get, the real video might have ended. Well, honestly, there's a lot of good information in this Q&A. So if they want to watch the whole thing, they can, but they could watch the beginning, which is like an hour or something like that. And also, I was starting a podcast channel, and I called it the Rob Sultan Show, and I was starting this podcast, but I think it's a better idea. And a lot of people of the Silver Squirrels here told me, hey, you should do the podcast just on the main channel and just put it in a separate chain, so to speak, and make a playlist with the full podcast. Because I want to start bringing in my friends that run hedge funds, my friends that are in these spaces where they can talk in greater detail and let people know about the information that I've been learning about, and just do these long interviews, kind of Joe Rogan style. And I've realized it's better just to do it all on this page. I don't know why I have I've got a mind where everything has to be perfect. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to separate it there, and I'm going to separate it there, and I'm going to separate it there. I think the only separation should be a clips channel. So I'll do a clips channel, and then I'll keep everything on the main channel, so to speak. And maybe I even keep the clips here as well. But I've realized that I think it's a bad idea to separate and have everybody subscribe over there because it's kind of annoying. I started looking at my habits, like valuetainment, for example. I really like Patrick Bet-David, and I watch his stuff, and I'm like, am I subscribing to every one of their channels? Like, I'm not personally. So I realized that if I'm not doing that and I'm asking other people to do that, it's probably annoying. Probably should just keep it all on the same page. What do you think about that? I'll probably end up doing it like that. Zane is a smart guy. Zane is a smart guy, and he's been you've been supporting me since the very beginning, man. And I really appreciate it, Zane. Yeah, Carl says keep everything on the same channel. Billy says agree. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do that, I think. So I dropped. If you want to watch the first interview I did, it was on. I separated on that page, but I think the next one will be on this page. So I think that's the way to go about it. I'm realizing that. But thank you, everybody. We're at 245 likes. 245 likes. That's awesome. I flipped the thing over, went for another 30 minutes. That's a 30-minute sand timer up there, in case you didn't know. So I do that just to, if you want me to keep going and talk on the subject. But I really hope this video helps. Again, I have nothing to sell you. I don't want to sell you anything. There's no VPN. There's no random company to shill at the end of this video. I'm going to end the video, and that's it. And so if you want to share it, if you want to get it out to some friends and say, hey, this is pretty crazy, the stuff that Powell's been getting away with. This is pretty crazy what they're doing, what Janet Yellen's talking about. I don't know if they're going to have the 1031 exchange. Maybe we should plan for that. Maybe we should get into real estate that we're going to hold for a while now, or however the plan of action might be, because that 1031 exchange might be the next thing in sights. I just want to make sure that my fellow citizens out there are in good shape, because it's just crazy times. And so I'm not a guru. I'm just trying to give every bit of information that I possibly have to try to help people. And yeah, it's just crazy times that we're living in. And personally, when it comes to like silver, like when silver just pulled back, the reason silver pulled back like $1 in like the last, 48 hours, maybe even a little bit more than that. It's down at, right now, ask is 2164. The reason for that is because the dollar index is strengthened off of the Fed's recent statements. And I'm like, how? How is this positive? He hasn't done anything different. Nothing has been done different. All he's done is kick the can past his point where he's not going to be the Fed chair anymore, or possibly isn't the Fed chair anymore because it's up in 2022. So it's like you just kick the can down the road. And the only thing is that inflation is at 30-year all-time highs. And it's transitory, a little bit more transitory than we first thought was transitory. It's like, this isn't good. And how is the dollar strengthening? It makes no sense at all. But that's opportunity. That's opportunity. Sometimes that's the moment where you figure out something. And so that's how I look at it myself. It's like, opportunity has come knocking once again. What am I going to do here? I know what my plan is. What's yours? Put it in a comment. And the other thing about these comments is we all learn together. So what I'm talking about is one thing, but I've noticed in the comment sections, I obviously can't read all of them as I'm making the video here. I try to do my best. I especially don't like to miss any of the super chats because I really do appreciate that. It adds up. If I did miss it, let me know. But the comment section, I don't have a moderator. A lot of these live feeds, they have like a moderator behind the scenes, like stopping a lot of the comments, but literally people can say, you're crazy, Robbie, makes no sense, this and that. Like there's somebody that's a Doge in the Doge community. I'm not silencing anybody. My hands are here. My hands are here. There's no moderator. Everybody can talk to each other. So just know that. You guys can all talk to each other in there. I'm never going to be that person that needs certain people to not be able to talk. You can say whatever you want about me. You can say your opinion out there. You don't need to be subscribed to the channel. I know some people make you have to be subscribed. If you do want to subscribe, would really appreciate it. But I'm not forcing anybody to comment to have to be subscribed. You get notifications if you click the bell or whatever. You click subscribe and the bell and then all notifications, something like that. And you get notified when I do these live streams. I try to give a notification like 20 minutes, 30 minutes in advance on my Instagram. And I did that in the story there. So if you see one of my stories pop up on Instagram, I'm probably saying, hey, I'm going to go live on YouTube pretty soon. So I try to give a little bit of a heads up. But if you click the notification bell and then all notifications, you'll be notified whenever I go live on here. And I plan to be dropping a lot of content on here ever since I figured out this live stream setup. It's new to me to be able to just click a button, go on here, and they're smooth and there's no problems. that's amazing that this is actually working, because we used to have a lot of problems in the live stream. Like halfway into it, they'd randomly go bad. But I have a direct Ethernet, and I figured out how to do these live streams, and I'm stoked about that. So thanks for bearing with me. And I promise every dollar I make, anything like that, all the super chats, it means so much to me, because all I do is I keep investing in this equipment, and I keep trying to make this setup better. That's my plan. Like I don't take that money and I go buy something. You know, all the super chats, everything that helps me, right back into the equipment, just making better content and just taking time away from running my business to make more of these videos. I do it anyway, but it helps me a lot. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all your support. Really means a lot to me. And I'm not going anywhere. I might take a little bit of a break here and there because I don't run on any specific schedule. But I'm learning stuff right now. Like I'm learning a lot about Bitcoin, studying a lot. All this information, it takes a while to learn it all, because I don't want to just talk and make content to make content. When I make content, I actually want to show you real articles. I want to give you real information, and I want to help people. So that's where I'm at. I'll stop rambling. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to sign out. Have a great rest of your night. I will see you at the next video, and there will be a lot more videos just being posted other than the live streams, but I plan to do like 2-3 live streams a week on the channel. So please do subscribe and click all notifications on the bell. I will see you at the next video. Stuzzy gave me a super chat right at the end here, so I can't let that go unnoticed, man. I really appreciate it. He says $4.99 from Stuzzy Mofo. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that in the video, but hope.com hodl. Hope.com hodl. That's Michael Saylor's site. Check that out. It's got a lot of information on hope.com, so check out hope.com. Very interesting information on Bitcoin, and have an open mind on it. You know, if there's one thing I want to do in the precious metals industry, is to teach people about this crazy technology with Bitcoin. And the other thing that I have the belief in myself after studying it, it gets very confusing because there's so many different cryptos, and Peter loves to shill that and make it seem like it's like this big space. It started as Bitcoin. It was only Bitcoin. And then all of these altcoins came on like into the space. And what's going to happen soon is Gary Gensler is going out there and he's going to classify them all as securities. And so when they're classified as securities, they're going to be taken off of the exchanges because they're not a real asset like Bitcoin. And they're classifying Bitcoin as an asset and these others as securities because Bitcoin is the only one to worry about. So if you're just getting started in it, only worry about Bitcoin. And even when you'll find out later on that none of the other ones were interesting at all. It was all about Bitcoin from the beginning. So that's where I'm at. I own nothing but Bitcoin. That's it. I don't have any of the altcoins, no Ethereum, none of that, just Bitcoin. And just remember, you can have fractional amounts of Bitcoin. You don't have to buy a $43,000 Bitcoin. You can have $5, $10, $20. You can have a small amount of it. It's fractional to a Satoshi. It's 100 million is its unit of account in one Bitcoin. So that's how I feel about it all. I only am in Bitcoin. That's it. But thank you, everybody. Zane says, I'll never forgive myself for passing up 33-cent Bitcoin. Me too, bro. Have a great night, everybody. I don't think I missed anything. Stuzzy was the last one of the night. Have a great rest of your evening. I always want to keep these going forever, so I ramble, but I really appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your night. I'm going to sign out. See you at the next one of these.